Coming up, it's Friday, so that means it's the TGIF episode. So in this episode, we're going to give you a little bit of a history of TGIF and talk about some of our favorite shows in this episode of DIS Pop.
It's Friday night, and the mood is right. We're going to have some fun, show you how it's done, TGIF.
DIS Pop is brought to you by Dreams Unlimited Travel, experts at helping you plan the perfect vacation. Visit them on the web at dreamsunlimitedtravel.com. Hello, everybody. I am your host, Ryno Clavin, joined, as always, by my co-host over here, Craig Williams.
Ahoy, hoy.
Yes, it is Friday, and that can only mean one thing if you are a 90s child like we are, and that is, it's TGIF. So, before we get started, I just want to say that this is actually probably going to be the last episode of DIS Pop for a little bit of while. We're going to take a little bit of a break and come up with some new and what I can only imagine are exciting ideas. Maybe reformat a little bit. Who knows what's going to happen, but we're going to take a little bit of a break. But we will return.
Yeah, and, it's not the end of DIS Pop. It's just, we will be back with certain things, obviously, movie reviews along the way. We don't know how long we will be on hiatus for. It could be, it could be a month, it could be 3 months, it could be a week.
Yeah,
but,
let's say it doesn't come back by the end of the year. We're still going to do an episode about Coco. We'll still do an episode about Star Wars. And, some other stuff in the middle maybe too,
Exactly. So just kind of picking and choosing right now while we take some time to come up with brand new ideas to make the shows even more interesting for you and just
it's going to go from Golden Girls to Golden Palace.
Oh, that worked out well for them.
Didn't it? It did not.
And I guess we should also just say, because, neither of us are going to disappear as well, too. So...
Oh yeah, none of us are the B. Arthur of the group.
Yeah, we will be still here. You will see us on Universal. You will see us on everything else, just not on DIS Pop because it's not going to be here.
Which Golden Girl do you think you are? Now that I've said you're not B. Arthur,
I mean, I'm a Blanche in the bedroom, but I'm a Rose in the boardroom.
Blanche, it's Blanche in the sheets, bro. Oh. Anyway, he's Stan.
Yeah, that's pretty right on the money. So.
Anyway, Golden Girls was not a part of TGIF, but it was actually it does have a history with Disney, so also relevant. Anyway, after our series of Nickelodeon in the 90s videos that we did that you guys seemed to like pretty, you liked them, you enjoyed them, you didn't say too many hurtful things. Actually, I don't even know if there was a hurtful thing said, to be honest with you, but somebody did recommend, actually multiple people out there recommended that we do a TGIF episode, and I thought, that's, how have we not thought of this before? Because it does actually have a pretty interesting history with Disney. It was on ABC, and a lot of the shows have had presence there's a park presence. I'm sorry, I don't know how to say that. So unfortunately, we probably won't ever get to that episode about the best episodes of TV shows filmed at Disney World. But maybe, who knows? Who knows what the future will bring for us? But we're going to dive right in. We're going to do a little bit of history lesson on TGIF because I had to do my research because I wasn't sure when it started or what started it all off. It was just a part of my life. Like. It's just one of those memories where it's just there, you can never remember. I don't remember the first time I sat down and watched it, but I do have a lot of great memories attached to it. So for those of you who don't know, TGIF is the Thank Goodness It's Funny block that aired on Friday nights between 8 to 10 p.m. on ABC from the years 1989 until the year 2000. Disney, if you don't, Disney has not always owned ABC. They bought it in the midst of TGIF. They bought it during 1995. But it was one of the first attempts by a major network to brand a programming block with the goal of encouraging young viewers to watch the entire lineup instead of a specific episode. So, unfortunately, like I said, it only lasted till 2000 because the ratings started to decline in the latter half of the 90s. It was revived for 2 seasons in the 2003 to 2005 season, but not successfully.
I'll be honest, I did not prepare for this. I thought we were talking about a goofy restaurant that hangs crap on the walls and offers endless apps.
You know, when you Google TGIF, the first thing that comes up is Fridays. Because it's TGI Fridays. But I forget that it's TGI Fridays. I just call it Fridays. So they should just retheme that whole restaurant to be the homage to TGIF, really.
Wouldn't that be the American dream?
Just Boy Meets World. Do you want to sit in the Boy Meets World section or the Family Matters section? We have somebody in the Urkel suite right now, but so anyway, so ABC has always had a history of family-friendly comedies on Friday nights since the early days of TV programming, way back in the 1950s. The TGIF branding was actually created by a man named Jim Janicek, Janicek. How would you say that? Janicek. I'm going to call him Jim.
I'm going to let you go with that.
Jim. So he was a writer and producer for ABC before he became before becoming the executive producer of TGIF. So what I thought this was kind of a fun piece of information is actually TGIF was inspired by The Wonderful World of Disney because he used that as his basis. He had a lot of really good memories from his childhood with his family where they'd gather around and watch The Wonderful World of Disney. So he wanted to create something similar. So in 1988, Jim Janicek approached the studios and talent of independently produced ABC shows. He got four ABC family-oriented comedy series on board, and with the backing of the network president, one Mr. Bobothy Iger. Just Bob Iger, I think we can lie now.
Robert.
Robert, there's the full Bob name. I should know that. My dad's name is Bob, right? And the initial lineup was created.
Yeah.
So it's weird. I didn't remember where Bob Iger came from. He just was there. He just was always there, you know? And so when I was reading this, I was like, oh, wow. Bob Iger had essentially this is the path that led to him becoming CEO of Disney.
Yeah, I knew of his involvement with ABC and all that. I didn't realize that he was so heavily involved in one of the things that was a staple of my childhood.
Well, it kind of makes sense too now with you look back at his history and career of like kind of these acquisitions or how he handled these things, and you think like, well, I mean, Marvel, Star Wars, like it makes sense now where his mentality comes from, you know?
Oh, I think he also has a complete lock on what our generation likes and wants, and that's helped him as CEO to like literally figure out what will keep us interested in Disney as a giant brand.
Well, and I think when it's his time to go, they need to find another person that is locked into that generational. You know, I think they need to go that route instead of like somebody maybe older than Bob or Mr. Iger. I don't really know him, so I'm not going to call him Bob. But
I mean, it's a first-name company.
Hey, I worked for Disney, and when the emails came in, it said it was an email from Bob. So, But yeah, so I wasn't familiar with his ties to ABC, like I said, so I read about it a little bit. Iger joined ABC in 1974 and was named the head of ABC Entertainment in 1989. He became the president of ABC Network Television Group from January of 93 until 94. And in 1994, Iger was named president and chief operating officer of ABC's corporate parent, Capital Cities /ABC. And then Disney comes along, purchases ABC, and in 1996, the Walt Disney Company purchased Capital Cities because that's like I said, the parent company of ABC, and they renamed it ABC Inc., where Iger remained president until 1999. So, I don't know. I thought that was just kind of cool. Like, it's one of those people that's kind of always been there in the background.
Yeah.
But so the initial airing of the TGIF block occurred in the 1988 to 1989 season, but it didn't quite have like that full branding. But the lineup was Perfect Strangers. Do you remember this show? Full House, Mr. Belvedere. But these 3 shows were actually already airing on Friday night.
Yeah.
The one that joined them was another one called Just the 10 of Us, which was a Growing Pains spinoff.
So I've never heard of this one. Obviously,
Just the 10 of Us.
Yeah, I definitely knew. I didn't really watch Perfect Strangers all that much. It never really appealed to me, except then.
Balky was in Step by Step.
Well,
right?
that's once he joined Step by Step and came in because they needed the weird character after Cody left. Then I had more of a appreciation for Perfect Strangers.
But is it the same character? Or is it just the same actor?
No, it's just the same actor.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah, no, he's good as an eccentric character, and obviously I'm a child of Full House. I think everyone is. Mr. Belvedere, no, I didn't. That never really showed in reruns or anything either.
No, I've heard reference made to it in like movies. Someone makes a callback reference, but I don't know that I've ever actually seen it. Yeah. But Full House was also that 1988, 1989, I believe, was its 2nd season. Perhaps you could check that for me really quick, but it might have been the first. Because I think when TGIF originally started the 89 to 90 season, Full House was in the 2nd season.
Full House started in 87.
It started in 87.
It started in 87 because the Olsen twins
it's the 30-year
are
anniversary
1 year older than me. So that's how I kind of like correlated with. I was born the same year the show started, and they were already like, right around 1 when the show started.
And then that other Olsen sister just shot out of nowhere, Elizabeth. God, isn't that? It's just weird to me that like this year is 30 years since Full House too. Like we'll talk about that, but like, God, so weird. So in that season, then the 88 to 89 season wasn't referred to as TGIF just yet. So the first branding of the night came when they decided to add. So the first branding of a night, not that night, came when they decided to add 2 comedy shows to the Tuesday block of shows. So originally the Tuesday block had 2 comedies, an hour-long drama, and then 2 hour-long dramas. And so this was right around the time Roseanne had started and was a success as well. I didn't write down what Tuesday was called. I think it was called like Terrific Tuesday or something like that. I accidentally forgot to write it down, but they had really good success with whatever they called Tuesday. I can't remember, but then they decided, let's brand another day of the week, and they referred to Wednesday as What a Wednesday. So then the studio was like, oh well, let's do. How about on Friday we call it the Friday Fun Club.
It's terrible.
Yeah, and so somebody said, that's terrible. And so by the time it actually went to air, it became, Thank Goodness It's Funny, TGIF. So, which is a play, obviously, on Thank God It's Friday. I should have said that earlier, but I assumed everybody knew.
I think we all figured that out.
I don't know if there's like I have a 6-year-old fan out there who might, little Annalise, she might not know. I guarantee she doesn't know, but her father should be educating her on this stuff. Her father. So that branding, like I said, the Friday Fun Club branding was retooled before the 1989-1990 season. So when it started, it even TGIF had its own opening to the night with a little theme song, little animated mice coming out, smashing a clock. I don't know if you remember those guys. I looked it up on YouTube, and I was like, oh, yeah, I vaguely remember this. I was only like 3 years old, so this would have been a rerun. I kind of remember the mice thing. But so it began with John Stamos, Dave Coulier, and Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen introducing the blocks of shows that you'd see that night. And then the cast of other shows eventually rotated out hosting the night each week initially. And this kind of came from the idea with the cast of Perfect Strangers had been doing this, and so people liked these. Kind of like a little mini inner. I don't know what you call them. There's a word for it. It's like interstitials or something like that. I don't know. But anyway, so the night proved to be a success. So by the beginning of the 1990 season, the mice were gone and the classic TGIF theme was in place. Which I also had to look this up, and it is extremely 90s. But
oh yeah.
When I played it, I don't always remember the beginning of it because I was kind of tuned in like a minute or two late and I kind of missed that part. But I do remember the ending because I would always get to the very end and it'd be like, see you next week. And It was always the saddest part of a Friday night.
Yeah.
Well, that and because I'm home alone watching TV. So the mice were gone. During the most successful years of TGIF, it would be the main characters of the various shows who would host and actually stay in character, commenting on the events of the shows as they went through the evening. Sometimes all the shows would have like a similar theme, and they'd talk about that like as they went. A very, very 90s thing. But later on, they would start to try and promote like Saturday morning cartoons you can look forward to tomorrow, or we have this new show coming out on Saturday. Moving on here, though, it was actually the purchase of ABC by Disney that killed TGIF. I didn't know this. It was this was back when Disney kind of ruined everything a little bit. So what happened was when the purchase happened, Disney wanted to. So the purchase happened in '95, but everything didn't really take effect until 1997. Essentially, Disney wanted to make ABC shift its attention to more adult-focused entertainment. Which is kind of a little ironic since currently on television, the things they are excelling at incredibly well are family-oriented comedies yet again. I mean, their Wednesday night lineup of like The Goldbergs, Modern Family, Speechless. What's the other one? Blackish. Is Blackish on Wednesday or is that on Tuesday now?
Wait, yeah, Blackish just moved to Tuesdays. It's still there with The Middle for its last season. And
it's going to be so sad when that show's over.
What they brought over... Gosh, what's the show that they brought over? I even texted you about it because I was so excited.
Oh yeah, you were like, I think they finally have the perfect lineup, because I agree with Craig that Wednesday has almost been that return to TGIF, or you could even move over to NBC and say must see TV, where it was so close because it had The Middle, Modern Family, and then there was like. They couldn't really figure out the last show. There was another show, but I can't remember what it was. But it fit really well and it was funny. But I think it's like ended by now. But then they would have like Cougar Town, or they would have Happy Endings, and I'm like, put these shows together because they're all about families and it's funny. But anyway, so the final night of programming for TGIF.
Housewife. That's it.
Oh yeah, American Housewife, because I do really like that show.
Housewife.
Oh, and I'm so happy that's going to be on Wednesday. You're right. Yeah, so there you go. Perfect block of television. Plus, I do feel like Tuesday's getting really strong, too. I mean, they'll have to find a good replacement for The Middle. Don't you nod your head at me. So the final night of programming for TGIF was May 2000, and that night consisted of 2 one-hour finales for shows. Can you guess those 2 shows, Craig?
Sorry, I was not paying attention to you.
The last episode of TGIF, what were the 2 shows that aired? And it was both of their finales. One was a series finale, and one was an ABC series finale.
When did it end?
May 2000. I know I'm putting you on the spot here. I watched both of these, too, when they happened. And I'm sure you've seen.
Boy Meets World.
Yeah.
And
you're
Sabby.
cheating. You are looking. Sabby?
Sabby the Witch.
Sabrina the Teenage Witch. Yeah. But Sabrina had been bought by another network, which actually happened to a number of the shows from the TGIF lineup. Family Matters moved to another network. There was another one, too, that moved. But I can't remember. But Sabrina had been picked up by the WB, where it aired for another 3 or 4 years. So I'm going to list the shows that are on it.
Yeah.
And then before I do that, though, I do want to say a fun little thing. When we set out to do this episode, I then came across an article about on Deadline that Hulu now has the rights to a lot of these shows from TGIF, and they acknowledged that, and they said essentially they're creating the TGIF lineup for every day of the week. So they'd have the rights to Full House, which is crazy to me since Netflix makes Full House now. Like
Fuller.
Yeah, but it was like it'd be like, oh, we have Arrested Development, but we don't have the first 3 seasons of Arrested Development. How do you not have the show that you're currently producing? I don't understand the whatever. That's their business, not mine.
I feel like Netflix and Warner Brothers don't have a lot of shows together.
No, well, I mean, I don't think you're right. I think other than like Friends, they don't really air a lot of Warner Brothers TV shows.
Exactly. That's sorry.
So
that's what I was eloquently trying to say.
Yeah.
You put
like,
it better.
Like, there's no Big Bang Theory. There's no. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
interesting.
I mean, Friends is kind of the biggest.
Well, and that was the big deal. And that was even a recent thing. That was this year, right? It started in like January. It was this year or last year?
Yeah, and that was kind of like what happened with Seinfeld, and I mean, it was a big acquisition. It could have went anywhere.
Yeah. Well, so deadline. Hulu has Full House, Family Matters, Step by Step, Perfect Strangers, and Hanging with Mr. Cooper, which I always enjoyed that show.
Yeah, and just to comment on that,
but yeah, I should say, don't go looking for them right now because every episode of these series will drop on Hulu users September 29th.
Yeah, I actually think this is a decent lineup for them to grab because Full House, obviously classic. I feel like it used to be on Netflix way back when.
I would have thought it was because they made the show. I just assumed it was there.
I think it was on Netflix and something happened and they dropped it from there, or it was on Hulu. But I can remember a time when it was streaming. But Step by Step, Family Matters. Family Matters.
Those haven't seen the light of day in a while.
No, Family Matters plays a lot on what's BET. Thank you. Thanking myself for coming up with it.
The BBC, is it big in England?
And that's what I was like, what channel? BET. It plays on there as well as Sister plays on there from time to time. Not a ton, but Step by Step rarely ever sees the light of day. At one point in time, I know this one isn't being added on, but Dinosaurs used to stream at one point in time because I watched the entire series.
I think it was on Netflix.
It was on Netflix. I watched it all right before they took it off.
Yeah.
So that way I could get my last fill in. Boy Meets World is still airing. It's on MTV now. Maybe not
really?
MTV1, but like MTV2. They
showing,
show it.
They were showing reruns on ABC Family before it became Freeform. So I don't know if that's still a thing. Like if it's still on there because they were showing them
really
during the day.
Show it on there now, but it is also being shown on Teen Nick because sometimes when I've been watching those the Snick lineups, it's been Boy Meets World and then goes into to Snick shows, which is so odd to see the two kind of like back to back.
I mean, it's great because it kind of like it makes sense too.
Yeah, but I think the big winner of this is Step by Step because it has never gotten love after it ended. Yeah, it was in syndication for a while, but never really picked up big. And maybe it's just because the quality of the show isn't as good as I remember it, but it used to be one of my favorites.
Yeah, it suffered from a couple of those, and this always happened before like 2000, like the massive shift of tone in seasons. Randomly, they'd be like, "Well, let's just get rid of that one child out of the family, and we'll never talk about him again, and we'll never bring it up." It's like in the X-Files, in the 90s, people were just doing reruns. Nobody was like really binge watching things again. You know what I mean? Unless you were like, you could be borrowing somebody's recorded VHS or something like that. But in the second season of the X-Files, they like refilmed the scene where Mulder's sister gets abducted. And I read an article about, they were like, why did they change it? And the guy said, well, honestly, I forgot what happened in the first episode and I didn't think anybody would remember. And I was like, what?
Yeah, a lot of shows. Even sticking with the TGIF lineup, Family Matters dropped a sibling.
It did?
It dropped a sibling, and then eventually,
I know the aunt left.
Aunt, she also left with her child. So, but they did lose a sibling. There was three Winslow kids, and only Eddie and Laura made it through. But there was a third, unless I am just making something.
Are you sure you're not thinking about the aunt's kid?
No,
it's a little boy.
Because he was a lot younger. So, there was also Judy Winslow.
Judy.
Yeah.
Judy. Weird. So weird. Yeah. We'll talk more about those when we get to those shows too, because we do love those shows. So, like I said, September 29th, look for those. And that date coincides with the 30th anniversary of Full House. So you can go cry right now because I'm sure you feel as old as I do.
Yeah.
So this is the lineup as they go, and let me know if I miss one. Okay. And they all kind of... They bounced around. Some were here just for like one season, not even. Some were here for like literally September to December and then moved to a different night. So Craig and I had the debate where we were like, oh, Full House, that's not part of TGIF. But it was in the beginning for the first like 2 seasons of TGIF, only the first official season of TGIF. But then it was like a Tuesday night show where it aired with like Blossom and something else. So, like I said, in that first season, it was Perfect Strangers, Full House, Mr. Belvedere, just the 10 of us. And then after that came Family Matters, Going Places, Dinosaurs, Baby Talk, which is a spinoff of Look Who's Talking, Step by Step, Billy, Getting By, Camp Wilder, Where I Live, Boy Meets World, Hanging with Mr. Cooper, Sister Sister, On Our Own, Muppets Tonight, Aliens in the Family, I remember that show, Sabrina, the Teenage Witch, Clueless, You Wish, Teen Angel, Two of a Kind, Brothers Keeper, The Hughleys, which I did not know originated on TGIF, Odd Man Out, and then Making the Band. I remember when Making the Band was on TGIF, because then I was like, it's not really TGIF anymore. This show doesn't fit. Like, it's not. It's a reality TV show that doesn't belong on a Friday, like with these other shows. But it did give us the likes of O-Town. So
I'm just glad you knew the Hughleys, because I was hoping that you were going to get there and say the Hughleys.
The Hughleys, the Hughleys. It's a spinoff of the Hughleys.
Yeah.
No, yeah. So, well, I mean, let's start. We'll just pick our favorites. So obviously, like, I don't really remember Perfect Strangers. We already said Mr. Belvedere. I didn't watch the 10 of us. So I think first we're going to talk about Full House. We're going to talk a little bit about Family Matters, Dinosaurs, obviously, Step by Step, Boy Meets World. I'd like to talk briefly about Hanging with Mr. Cooper. And Sister Sister. I'm sure you want to talk about the Muppets, so on. So we're going to hit some. I'm going to talk about Clueless as
I can already talk about Muppets Tonight.
I remember when
Short-lived for a reason.
Oh, you
not great.
Yeah. Well, okay. Well, we'll start us off with Full House, Craig, because I know you love Full House.
Full House, the story of the Tanner family. The matriarch passes away before the story starts.
Oh my gosh, it's so sad too.
I know, it's very sad. And Danny Tanner.
How did she die? Do you remember?
Oh,
drunk driver.
Was it
drunk driver? Because there's an episode where DJ either gets in the car or she is intoxicated and drives, and it was this whole sad where he's like, you know, this is how your mother died. No, Kimmy did it, and DJ was really mad at Kimmy because that's how her mom died.
Yeah, that's right. But yeah, Danny Tanner forced to raise his 3 daughters all by himself. But wait, no, he's going to call in his not stepbrother, his brother-in-law, Jesse Katsopoulos. Well, originally Jesse Cochran.
Yeah, I was just
and
then
say. Katsopoulos, as well as Joseph Gladstone.
Yeah, and Joey was his his roommate from college or something like that.
Childhood friend. It goes all the way back. They did
Okay.
flashbacks to when they were back on the playground, and I want to say even Jesse was in those flashbacks too. Like he would be there, but there's a lot of issues in continuity.
I was just going to say, because Jesse's supposed to be like Jesse, when the show starts, I think is supposed to be like 21 years old or something like that, right?
There's a lot of continuity issues in Full House towards the beginning, and then some random bits and pieces here and there. But you can't let that distract you, like changing a character's last name to eventually fit in with his Greek heritage, so that one day said actor John Stamos could sell Greek yogurt on TV.
Did you know that Bob Saget wasn't the original Danny Tanner?
Yes, I did know that. I've watched a lot of like Entertainment Channel used to do all these stupid hour-long documentaries where they tried to make 90s television seem like this pit of despair and just constant states of drama. I watched 1 or 2 of those about Full House in my time.
Yeah.
Okay.
No. Sorry. I just saw something where they were saying parts of the theme song had been changed in syndication. And I was like, that is sacrilegious. Because if there's one thing about these 90s TV shows, they had good theme songs. And everyone knows that everywhere you look, everywhere.
There's a heart.
The Milkman Paperboy.
Okay,
that's right.
you're just skipping around.
I should have started there. But anyway, yeah. So, Full House just was kind of destined to always be like a popular show. It essentially it's one of those shows that thrived in reruns as well.
Yeah, and obviously Bob Saget, this launched him in to new levels of fame that he didn't have before, and eventually translated into him doing Full House and then America's Funniest Home Videos at the exact same time, which was also a juggernaut of laughs. John Stamos went on to be in ER and is still around to this day. And we are friends with a man who is friends with John Stamos.
Who?
So, Donnie.
Oh yeah, I forgot he posted that. He posted that photo on Instagram, and I was like, "Oh, Donnie."
You know, Dave Coulier went on to do what was that? The Surreal Life on VH1.
Oh my god! And that is so.
And Alanis Morissette.
Well, in that episode, he inspired Jagged Little Pill. In that not that episode, that season of that show. That's the show that gave us Flavor Flav, Flavor of Love, all the that show gave VH1 quite a bit of stuff. That specific season, and that was the season where we moved, and so we went from cable to a satellite dish when we went from one house to the other. And I remember it got so close to the end of the show. I don't know how that show ended, and I was really invested in how Flavor Flav and Sylvester Stallone's ex-wife.
Bridget Nielsen.
How Bridget and Flavor Flav ended their relationship. And also, Dave Coulier was awesome on that show.
Oh, yeah. Obviously, though, the standout of Full House, who are arguably, to this day, the most famous people to come from Full House, even though they've been out of the spotlight for years now, the Olsen twins, Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen, which rose to prominence during Full House, did terrible movies with Steve Guttenberg.
Oh, no. I like that movie. And don't forget, Kirstie Alley is in that movie as well.
She is. It Takes Two.
Yeah.
Is what
that
we're
was
talking
my preferred movie over The Parent Trap.
They did everything.
Double, Toil and Trouble.
That's
Come on.
Exactly what I was just going to say. Did another show. They've just, everyone knows who the Olsen twins are. They were just they were the biggest. It was... It's just massive.
Yeah, it just essentially that it's almost hard because the later seasons I feel like got swallowed up by Jesse and the Olsen twins, by Michelle. It became about Jesse and Michelle, and you're like, weren't there other members of this family at one time or another?
Yeah, they had the best rapport with each other, though.
And then they brought in the twins. Jesse and Becky had the twins because they were like, "Kate, people love these babies." And then let's bring in this golden retriever. Also, this house is enormous. How does Danny afford this as a single parent?
And one of the funniest aspects of it is that if you think about the floor plan and see the shots, there is no way that the hallway up above the house could actually connect properly with where the staircase is at in the kitchen, as well as then where the staircase is at in the family room.
Well, and then what was always so weird is every time they go down the staircase to get downstairs, it was in the first couple seasons, Joey lived in the garage, right?
No,
there was a door.
Joey lived in the nook in the family room for the first part.
and then when he moved downstairs, was it a garage though? Because I thought the wall opened or something like that at one point.
Well, yes. DJ tried to move into the garage at one point because she was having issues with living with
Stephanie.
Stephanie, thank you. Didn't want to be in the same room as her younger sister. Jesse was in the Pink Bunny room.
Oh God, yeah, I remember that. And then at the end, they framed the piece of the wallpaper for him.
Yeah, he was in that room, which then he left that room.
When Becky and him got married, they built the studio above,
up in the attic,
and then the recording studio downstairs.
That kicked Joey out of the basement, which he was once living in, because that's where they were doing their advertising.
No,
they did their advertising jingles. They were working down there, became a studio. Joey moved up upstairs to Jesse's old room. DJ was in another room. Very convoluted.
Yeah, because then you're like, because then Stephanie and Michelle. Did Stephanie and Michelle share a room until the end of the show?
Yeah, then they shared a room throughout the end of the show.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, and now it's got Fuller House, which is about to start its third season as well, on the 30th anniversary as well, which is all about DJ, who has become a single parent herself, that has Stephanie and her best friend Kimmy Gibbler move in with her and help her raise the children. So kind of that return to nostalgia there.
Yeah, no, this was this is like in terms of my family, Full House was a big one. My sister, this was her favorite of the shows, probably still is her favorite of any of the ABC shows in the 90s. And yeah, it's complete cheese. Like every time you get to the last 2 minutes of the episodes, you know,
that music's
cue the music,
coming,
like the slow version of
the
it.
kneel down and the Michelle, why would you do that?
And it was so formulaic, but it was just the right amount of cheese for our age, and classic in every way, shape, and form, and getting completely bizarre, having Michelle completely lose her memory after
The
falling
last
off
episode,
a
I
horse.
remember watching that episode, and you're like, that there was a stuffed animal that like was the thing that brought the memory back. I can't remember. The twins like went to take it from her or something, and
At the end of the day, though, the end all be all is that show produced The House Meets the Mouse, which is arguably the greatest of any of the Walt Disney World and ABC show crossovers.
well, Steve is the voice of Aladdin,
Yeah.
and Steve is in that episode. But let's not talk about Full House too much longer. I know people want to talk about that episode, but we will be here forever. And maybe we can someday get to an episode about the best episodes filmed.
Oh,
at Disney parks.
absolutely.
Because we have to talk
yeah.
about how Sabrina the Teenage Witch was the opening of Animal Kingdom. It was the promotion of that.
You are overly obsessed with that show.
I love Sabrina and Melissa Joan Hart. I'm going to get a Sabrina the Teenage Witch tattoo. It's just going to be Salem.
Fantastic. So Family Matters?
Yeah, let's do Family Matters next. Anyway, so Full House ended in 1995 with a total of, how many episodes were there? I thought I could find it. 192 episodes. So on to Family Matters, which I don't think lasted 8 seasons, but...
It lasted 9 seasons.
Oh, it lasted longer. Wow, good for them.
Yeah, no, it lasted a long time. Perhaps way longer than it should have.
Well, I don't even know it. Like, it did the move. So, like we said, it was being canceled by ABC, and I believe it was UPN that picked it up. I want to say.
No, this says that CBS picked it up for season 9,
CBS.
which was kind of. I mean, season 9 was definitely a blip on the radar for the most part. The big thing about 9 is, and I think, was it halfway through the season, the long-running Jo Marie Payton, who played Harriet through the entire season, left the show and was replaced.
In the last season?
Yes, in the last season. I think she was in like half of it.
And just write the wife out.
I don't know, but I do remember that happening. Obviously, Family Matters tells the story of the Winslow family. They live in Chicago. And Ryno, do you want to give this theme song a go? I know deep down you wanted to just say, whatever happened to predictability? Every song you sing is going to end up as Full House.
Yeah, I know. Now that tune's stuck in my head. I can even see the opening of Family Matters to the point now where I can't get to it, because I used to call the show what the theme song is, not what it's called, what it is. I'm not going to get to it. You're going to have to hum this one. Give me a couple bars. It was What a Wonderful World. Oh, that was the original theme song.
What a Wonderful World was the original
It says
theme
the
song.
show's original theme was Louis Armstrong's What a Wonderful World. It was scrapped after the 5th episode of season 1.
No, it's...
But it was only heard in the pilot and syndication.
As
days go by.
It's the people you love and the family.
It says it was written by the same person that... Yeah. Written by the same guy who wrote the Full House theme song, too. So.
Interesting. But yeah, so the Winslow family, as we already talked, 3 kids dropped Judy at some point in there. And the big thing about everyone knows about Family Matters, of course, curse, which was kind of ended up being a curse on our entire lives, was the breakthrough recurring character that was not supposed to be a series regular, but ended up being what the series became all about, and that is one Mr. Jaleel White, a.k.a. Stephen Urkel, a.k.a. Stefan Urkel, a.k.a. Urkelbot, and what was the Myrtle Urkel? Myrtle Urkel. That was the last one.
Did I do that?
Yeah. You got any cheese?
God. Did you see? I mean, I always goes back to New Girl, but when Jess, the hipsters move in next to her and she knocks something over and does like, "Did I do that?" And they think it's hilarious, and like Schmidt exposes her at the end by showing them an episode of Family Matters.
I don't remember that, but that's pretty funny. I mean, yeah, obviously the big thing about this show was it explored a lot of themes. The nice part was that Eddie and Laura, I mean, they weren't young per se when the show started, but Eddie, I believe, he started as like a teenager. So he aged very quickly on into the series. So Family Matters covered a lot more, I would say, a lot more controversial subjects throughout its time, whereas Full House, because the girls were so young, I don't feel like they ever were.
It was a little softer.
Yeah, it was a lot softer, but it just became a complete joke because of Urkel and Urkel's obsession
with Laura,
obsession/fascination with Laura, and what a goofy show. But I mean, it went the long run.
I read this fact that it was so Urkel didn't debut in the episodes until the 12th episode of the first season, and he was in every episode after that. But for the reruns, because they knew people loved Urkel, they reshot cold openings that featured Urkel and added them in, starting with episode 4, Rachel's First Date. They did it in episode 4, 7, 8, and 10. That's kind of crazy. That imagine being the people on that show and being like, "Oh, great, cool. It's all about this character now. Awesome."
Yeah. No, and I could understand if they were upset, but at the same time, they were all working. So why not just ride the wave? Continue being working, even though you're being.
Did Carl Winslow pass away in real life? Didn't he pass away recently?
No, he's still alive. You're thinking about the dad from Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Oh yeah, Uncle Phil. Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
Reginald Vell-Johnson is still alive, and
from Die Hard.
Die Hard, yes, thank you.
Yeah, that's my favorite part of Die Hard too. Wait, is he in both?
Yes, he is in both.
Okay, because I get the two like kind of jumbled together.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was a big fan. I love Family Matters. Like I mean, I do feel like it's going to be one of those shows I'll revisit and be like, the Urkel. Like, it was just it's going to be one of those shows where it's going to be hard to watch the first part of it because it's not what it is later. You know what I mean? You can't get into it as quickly.
As far as a sitcom, though, a 90s ABC sitcom, I actually really appreciate Family Matters now. I feel like it was a little bit more realistic than something like Full House was. Full House, just the premise of it is bonkers. This, at least, was grounded in a little bit more reality. But, yeah, Family Matters, a great show.
Well, yeah. Did he? Do we want to spoil it? Did Urkel and Laura get together?
You're just gonna have to watch when it's on Hulu.
I'm gonna have to because I was invested in that. And then the bummer is he invented that machine that split Urkel and Stefan. They became two separate people, and I was like, Laura just couldn't love the nerd.
Well, because
Shallow.
Laura loved Stefan, and then I forget the name of her character, but Urkel's girlfriend, who did pass away in real life. Yeah, and then, girl, she always talked with like a squeaky mouse voice.
Yeah. Oh, my gosh. Oh, I can't remember. I won't remember.
Yeah.
But I know what you're talking about. Yeah. Oh, that's a shame. Okay, next one. What do we want to talk about next?
Is Dinosaurs next?
Oh, heck yes, it is. It
was Myra.
Dinosaurs. Myra, yeah. Oh, that's sad. So Dinosaurs was actually kind of a short-lived show, too, I believe. It maybe only 4 seasons?
Yes, it was very... 3?
Okay, 4 seasons, 65 episodes, yeah. But it was it was on ABC from 91 until 94, and the show was about a family of dinosaurs that were like, they were live. It was live action, so they were like they weren't puppets. They were like people in suits, right?
They are a creation of Jim Henson.
Mm-hmm.
They were made with so technically, yes, they are puppets. I believe the characters were inside the suits, but then the face gestures and everything else was that was run off servos and remote control and that style of animation.
So Dinosaurs set in 60,003 BC in Pangea. The show centers on the Sinclair family: Earl, the father; Fran, the mother, Earl's wife; and then the children, Robbie, Charlene, and baby Sinclair, which we all know. And then let's not forget about the mother too, because the mother was like my favorite.
Not the mama.
Ethel. But yeah, everybody. Another one of those shows where everybody loved the one-liners from the 90s shows.
I'm the baby, gotta love me.
Do you remember his song? I'm the baby, gotta love me.
Oh, yeah.
It was. I remember that being a big deal when they debuted the music video. But yeah, there was. If you're like on Tumblr or you're very familiar with memes, there is a dinosaur. There's an episode of Dinosaurs where they're in a courtroom. And it's a brontosaurus, and she's the long neck, so she's only got the little collar on and a little like tie or something. And the episode is about like the lawyer's like, "What were you wearing?" And it cuts back to the dinosaur, and the dinosaur only has the collar on, and you're like, ugh. Like it's a weird like societal comment on a show about puppet dinosaurs and stuff like that. But do you remember the end of this show too?
The end, wasn't it? Was
it's like
it
the end
extinction
of the world?
of them? Yeah.
I remember seeing it like, it's called, the series finale of Dinosaurs, titled "Changing Nature," depicts the irresponsible actions of the dinosaurs toward their environment and the ensuing ice age, which leads to their demise. It was a very scary episode. Like it was not funny, and it was very dramatic. I remember being like, I am afraid.
Yeah, I think Dinosaurs is one of those shows that a lot of people do have fond memories of watching it, especially remembering all the characters as being just these giant real dinosaurs walking around. But it's a so-so show. I love it because I love basically everything that Henson does. I think how it all operates is just pure brilliance. But it's one of those things. I think if people would watch it back now, I think that's part of the reason why maybe it isn't more often asked for streaming services, because overall it had a good run for 4 seasons. I'm surprised it made it as long as it did.
Yeah, and this is one that I definitely want to I've watched like episodes here and there again, so it's one I want to go all the way through. Like I want to appreciate what went into the making of this show, and honestly, like I don't want to just like watch the last episode. I want to get up to the last episode. But essentially, Earl causes the end of the world by destroying all plant life by accident, because it's just this whole thing, and it's cool that there's an end to the show, but it's also kind of a bummer. Like, it makes me sad. But, this was one of those shows I definitely remember from my childhood. But what would you like to do next?
Oh, well, we are coming up now. We kind of have... Let's go step by step now.
Okay. And you're a big fan of this one.
Oh, yes, I am. Basically, a modern day... Well,
give me the theme
90s.
Song. Give me the theme song.
Step by step, day by day. Fresh start over, a different hand to play. The people we love.
This one starred Patrick Duffy, Suzanne Summers.
Make it better. The second time around.
Remember the opening too? They were all at the fair or something.
Yeah, and
so
then
they're all like riding the rides.
They end it by riding what's the roller coaster that was at the Six Flags I think it was the Six Flags in California. I don't remember, though. But yeah, classic opening. Patrick Duffy. Go.
This was like it feels like the show was like trying to be a modern Brady Bunch, because it's like 2 single parents, each 3 kids.
Yeah, exactly what I was going to say.
Okay.
Except I was stopping myself to say modern because, well, a 90s version of the Brady Bunch. Each one came with a different dynamic. Carol, played by everyone's favorite Suzanne Summers. She brought 2 girls and a boy to the mix, and Dana, Mark, and what's her name, Karen. And then Frank, Patrick Duffy, brought brought two boys and
Who, by the
a
way,
girl.
does not age, because Patrick Duffy right now looks exactly like Patrick Duffy looked like on Step by Step, because he was on what was the remake of that show that was on TNT about the oil, the family
Dallas.
with the oil? Yeah. And he just like, I was like, you haven't aged a day. This is scary.
He's a very handsome man. You know, he brought along JT, Al, and Brendan, and then kind of their Alice, their goofy person that just is there. Technically on the Lambert side of things, though, of course, was Cody, who. You know, everyone knows the story of Cody getting written out of the show after his domestic violence on his wife. But then after that, you know, they were able to start bringing in other characters to fill the gap. So Jason Marsden. So that we know from Boy Meets World as well as Full House, and
The voice of Max.
And you know, he's still working to this day. The voice of Goofy, or not Goofy, Max.
Yeah.
And just Max does everything. And so they brought him in to help out. They brought in Flash for one season, who had a big important part in the Disney World episode, but we'll talk about that again later. And as we
I
talked,
don't remember Flash.
Oh, he was like this kid that was basically on speed, always bouncing around all the time.
Yeah, I do remember him now.
So their Disney World episode is they all go to Disney World, and he wants to do everything. He wants to ride every ride and take away the record from the Russians, which is so stupid. Okay. But and then of course they also bring in Bronson as Jean-Luc Repareau, a hairdresser. So. You have that, and yeah,
but he was a short-lived one.
Yeah, no, he was short-lived. A lot of the people who popped in were just for a very short period of time, just to help fill the gaps after Cody left. But overall, again, this was one of those ones where, because they had such a wide range of characters in it, all different ages, different issues. Al was a tomboy for most of it, and then she had to make that transition into being like, well, I'm a really good-looking teenage girl now after being a tomboy for all these years. Kind of went through that. JT, always stupid. Dana, trying to...
JT was so stupid.
JT was. Dana had issues where she's the smartest one, but then finding out that Cody is also just as smart, if not smarter than her.
Not Cody.
Oh, yeah, no. They got into the same college, and that was
Cody
an issue.
in the van?
Yes, Cody in the van.
What about Mark? I thought Mark was a smart one. Because don't you remember the episode where Mark had the laptop and he wouldn't stop working and it ran out of memory?
Mark is your stereotypical nerd, but Dana was like...
Mark from Beethoven's fame.
Yes, exactly. Dana was always... I guess the best way to characterize her is like Kat from 10 Things I Hate About You.
I was going to say,
very
she reminds
smart,
me of...
very feminist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you remember the movie Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead?
Yes.
Okay, so the oh my gosh, Kelly from from Married with Children, from Anchorman. What?
Christine? No, not Christine.
Oh my god, I'm having a brain fart.
Yeah, I know though.
This is the worst.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about. She reminds me of her.
Yeah.
Like it's like that stereotypical, like the '90s kind of hard ass character.
Yeah, just blonde and crazy. And then, of course, when Brendan was eventually written out of the series.
Brendan was the little one, yeah.
Yes. But overall, I love this show. It was...
Christina Applegate. That was the worst flip. Oh, God. Sorry.
But no, I think this show had a ton of humor. It was always funny, kind of like Full House. It knew when to hit on the right moments with an emotional moment here and there. But overall, this series was just way more lighthearted.
Well, this is another one of those series that the last season jumped ship to CBS as well. Another one of those like rescued shows back in the day. I also felt like the Lamberts' living room looked exactly like the Winslow's living room, but a different color scheme. Everybody had, you walk in the front door, and immediately behind the door, you can go upstairs that go up and over, and there was always a nook, like where you said that Uncle Joey lived.
Yeah.
And so there was a couch, and then there was the door into the kitchen.
Yeah.
So think about it. Think about the setup. Everyone's house, Full House, Family Matters, and Step by Step were like the same set.
Step by Step spent a lot of time in the kitchen. because it was like a place. It was a central place because everyone always gathers in the
Cody
kitchen.
was in the van in the back too.
He was in the back in the van. It led right into the living room. There was you could go upstairs that way. You could go out to the garage where Carol eventually had her haircutting business out of it. So it was just a central thing. But I love Step by Step. Again, of all the ones coming to Hulu, this is the one that most excites me. I can't wait for it.
Yes. Well, next, let's talk about one of, I think, many out there's staple and one of the best of a childhood, Boy Meets World.
Yeah.
A show also that went through many changes along the way, but never, like, not in the same way. It was always, like, good change. You know what I mean? It was, like, we who was the teacher that randomly disappeared? Mr.
Turner.
Mr. Turner. And then Minkus also randomly disappeared. Every now and then somebody would just kind of disappear.
Yeah, but like Minkus came back at graduation.
I do love that. I do love that episode.
Him and Topanga had to fight over who was going to be the valedictorian. They both had the exact same GPA with all the same amount of A's throughout their life. But yeah, Boy Meets World centers around Corey Matthews and his family, the Matthews, with his best friend Sean, his love interest since the time that they met on the playground together, Topanga. And
that's revisionist though, because I feel like in the beginning he's not in love with her, but then they kind of added in that they were always in love.
Exactly. No, that is one of those changes that they made. He is completely repulsed by her in the first season because she's the weird girl. Her parents are basically hippies. If I remember correctly, in one episode, her dad is played by Peter Tork from the Monkees.
Yeah, they were never the same people again, because I think Michael McKean is her father in an episode too.
Yeah, he is. I think that might be the episode where they moved to Pittsburgh or they're getting a divorce, one of them. But yeah, like the Monkees pop up at one point in time and do a performance on the show, because why wouldn't they? But you know, this show it's another juggernaut for people our age.
And Ben Savage, the younger brother of one Fred, yes, who does still get quite a bit of work these days, directing TV episodes and being on
he's
shows
on
too.
Friends from College now on Netflix.
Oh, is he really?
Yeah.
Okay, because he was just in that show that I don't think got picked up with Rob Lowe too. It like made it through.
Through a season. Yeah, it was a good show.
He directed a lot of episodes of Happy Endings and New Girl, and they were very, very funny episodes.
Yeah, no, he does Always Sunny too. So he's definitely a prolific. He's prolific behind the scenes and in front of the camera.
One of my favorite Happy Endings jokes though is where he just was like watching the movie in a flashback with like Penny or something like that, and he's like, they're watching Bride. Oh my God, the Bride movie. What's
Princess
the
Bride?
Princess Bride. And he's just like, in this scene, the director wanted me to do the take a little bit different, but I was like, hey, if you want something about like you want a Savage, a Fred Savage.
Yeah.
I'm like, but I miss Ben. I wish Ben. But this spawned the sequel series, Girl Meets World, where we got Corey and Topanga, and it was about their daughter Riley.
Exactly.
And that has just ended this year as well. Earlier this year, that was on for a couple of seasons too. But the original Boy Meets World ran for 7 seasons, 158 episodes. Season 1 was middle school, and then 2 through 5 was high school, and then season 6 through 7 was college. And those are the seasons where the Lawrence brother. Which Lawrence is
Matthew.
it? Matthew was added, who I enjoyed on the show quite a bit, and then we also got Angela later in that season too.
See, this to me is where the show.
No,
technically there are some good episodes, like when they do they do an episode where they parody horror movies and Scream in particular, but then they get Jennifer Love Hewitt to come in and actually
awesome
be a part of it as well too, even though she was in I Know What You Did Last Summer. But like, so there were some standout episodes in there, but college changed things. Corey and Topanga get married, learn what it's like to struggle with money and being a newlywed couple.
Yeah.
It really started to go downhill. I mean, the high school years are the best because I feel like it was an accurate, not a complete accurate, but it did capture a lot of what it did feel like to be an adolescent growing up and going.
Isn't Adam Scott the bully in the high school years too?
Adam Scott was for a portion of it, but then
There was that other kid that is the bully in every 90s show.
and so that the bullies kind of changed up, but you had Frankie and Joey, the other two bullies
That's what I
that
was
were the
thinking of, Frankie and
lackeys.
Joe. And one of them was the drummer from Rylo Kiley, the skinny little one with the high pitched voice.
Yeah, and the I feel terrible. I can't remember his name, but he ended up being in Remember the Titans, the
bigger one. Yeah.
And
he was on. I think he was on maybe ER.
My Name is Earl.
Oh, My Name is Earl.
Lost
That was it.
a lot of weight and continued to do that. But the show was so good because I feel like Ben Savage's character stayed very consistent through the entire series, but yet it was the characters that changed for the better around him. Like his parents got more understanding, a lot sweeter, compassionate, but also could still like really stand up. Sean always had issues throughout his entire run, but
who
that was
did
the
not
good balance.
love Ryder Strong?
Yeah, and then the standout part of the show, in my opinion, and a lot of people's, is Will Friedle, who played
Eric
Matthews, who basically did a Homer Simpson, where he goes from kind of like, he's lovable, but kind of has a head on his shoulders, and then by the end of the series, he is the dumbest thing alive.
Fine.
Yeah.
I just love him and his obsession with Mr. Feeney too. Like, it's essentially once he cut his hair. That's when I feel like the haircut was the direct relation to his intelligence.
Yeah.
But I love Will Friedle. Will Friedle is an excellent, I wish he suffers from a phobia about being looked at by too many people or something like that. That's why he does a lot of voice work now, and he struggled. I don't know if he ended up making the appearance in Girl Meets World or not.
I honestly gave up on that show after watching a couple episodes here and there.
I just want to watch the ones that they're in together. That's the only ones I want to watch.
But having William Daniels as George Feeney, goes from I think he started off as just teacher and then made it to principal and then ended up going back to being a teacher when they went to college.
I love the last episode when he's like, when they're moving to Philadelphia or somewhere, and they're like, "You're coming with us, right? Like, you're coming with us." Like, it's really funny. Okay, do you have a standout episode that you remember really quick you want to talk about? Because I'll tell you the one that I remember and always think about, and it made me cry so much. The one with the youngest brother's born, Josh. Is it the baby's name, Josh? Yeah. And they make you think the baby died because it was a premature baby, and so they didn't know if it was going to make it for a while. And then the end of the episode, the parents are staring at an empty baby thing, and you're like, "Oh God, the baby died!" And I started crying uncontrollable. And then they hand them the baby, and you're like, "Oh my God, I can't! Don't you do this to me, Boy Meets World."
Yeah, I couldn't honestly pick out one. This is, I think, the only TV show where I own every single season.
Oh, really?
I actually, no. There's another one. Embarrassing. Alf.
That's not embarrassing. Who doesn't love Alf?
I own all of Alf because I even gave up on Seinfeld buying them after a point in time. It's like, I don't. It's still on TV all the time, but Boy Meets World went off, so I have all seasons of that, and I have every season of Alf. And that's my two that I have. So that would be like picking a child, trying to pick it, because I love the Disney World episode because there's a little bit of crossover, because Dana from Step by Step's in that one. Oh yeah,
I remember that.
I've talked about it before, just mentioned it, the episode where after Corey and Topanga break up and they start drinking and
I do remember
on the cop car.
I remember a joke though where they're like arguing in the car and they're driving at night on the highway and he's just like, and she moves the mirror and he's like, can you put the mirror back? And she like shifts the mirror and he's like, "Oh great, now I can see if cars are headed toward my crotch." Like, and I'm just like, Angry Corey was always my favorite Corey.
Yeah, there's so many good ones in there. Just a great show.
Well, I just want to talk about really quick. So I'll go a little faster through these ones. But Hanging with Mr. Cooper, I really enjoyed this show too. I thought this show was funny. It was so I don't know. It was a NBA like a retired NBA player who had to become a coach of a high school, and he lived. So Mr. Cooper, who was Mark Cooper, I don't remember the scenario though, because he had a friend, Vanessa. He moves in with two women, right? And he lives with them, and this was just one I really enjoyed, but it ran for a lot longer than I thought. It was on for 5 seasons.
It was just one of those ones where Mark Curry was just kind of a great comedian.
Yeah.
He was like that 90s comedian that it just like it felt right to put him in with a sitcom, and it was an entertaining show. This was one of my favorites. Raven was on it.
No.
Yeah.
She's on so much stuff. Gosh.
Yeah.
Well, that also will bring us right to Sister Sister as well, which I also really enjoyed.
Gave us the Maoris.
It did, yeah. All of them. The smart guy. The youngest one.
Tamara, and Taj.
Yeah. So this one was on for 6 seasons, 119 episodes. And in case you don't know the plot of this one, were they separated at birth, or they were adopted separately or something like that?
Yeah, they were adopted separately.
Yeah, because Jackie is
Jack
Lisa. Jack Hay, who I love, and but she plays Lisa, and this I would watch this show any day because of her. But she's Lisa, who's her adoptive mother, and then Tamara. That's Tia lives with her.
Yeah,
and then Tamara lives with her father Ray. Played by Tim Reed, and they live in the suburbs, and the other ones live in the city. So what happens is Tia and Lisa go to live with Ray and Tamara, right?
Yeah, they go to live with Ray.
And then Roger. I remember Roger, the neighbor that was in love with them.
Exactly. So, but I think just to take a step back, and like a tangent step back, I believe Taj actually got his start on Full House, because he was one of Michelle's classmates, Teddy.
He was a little Teddy.
Yeah. But no, I loved Sister Sister. It was the duo of twins on TV in the 90s was just a huge thing. This was a super funny show. Jack Hayes, absolutely hilarious. It's one of those ones when I catch an episode, when I see it on TV, I'll still watch it, and it's very entertaining. I like it a lot.
Oh, they did eventually meet their father, apparently, and the mother had died. And I'm just reading that really quick here, but it was just one of those, like, I think it was just the opposites, like, Jack Kay combined,
even the
Lisa
twins were up. It was kind of like an odd couple of twins.
It was always fun, and I do love Tia and Tamara. Like, I think they're just one of those people that you're like, I like those people. You know, didn't they have a reality show after that too? On one of them did.
Yeah, one of them did for sure. I don't remember if they were both in it though.
And let's go on to the other one, Muppets Tonight. Talk about it, Craig. Why do you hate it?
It wasn't strong. It was basically just a half an hour show, trying to be like the Muppet Show, but it never quite fit in that same way.
It says Clifford was the host. Not the big red dog. Was it the robot?
No, I don't even. I watched episodes of this. I wasn't obsessed with it at all. I didn't watch it when it ran. I didn't watch this until afterwards. They used to show. They showed this on Disney Channel after it was finished through its original air run, and then I caught episodes in. It wasn't great. The Muppets during this point in time, this is kind of right on the entail of Muppet Treasure Island, right in that period, and before you started having like Muppets from Space. This isn't a good point for the Muppets. They were just struggling creatively on all fronts.
Yep. Then there was a short-lived show that I remember. I don't know why I remember this show. There were literally only 8 episodes of the show called Aliens in the Family, because it was around the time that X-Files was becoming really popular, and I was like, oh, here's a show about funny aliens. But I don't really have any stories to tell about that, except for I remember we would sleep over my dad's house on the weekend. Not every weekend, but sometimes, and TGIF was my thing to get me through it, because my dad's house was super boring. And so I remember anytime there was something new on TGIF, I was like, oh, thank God. But next was introduced one of my favorites of all time, Sabrina the Teenage Witch.
This one's all you, because I have nothing positive to say about this show.
Oh my God, you don't even like the cat with the attitude? You don't like Salem Saberhagen?
No, I dislike everything about this show. It just
Harvey is the reason why I have this piercing in my ear right here, is because when I was younger, Harvey had the cuffs in his ear, and I was like, Harvey is the coolest person ever.
It just never appealed to me at all.
It was on for 7 seasons, a total of 163 episodes. And like the idiot child I was, I never realized it was actually took place in Massachusetts, because they were in a suburb called Westbridge that was a fictional suburb. But later she went to school in Boston, and I was like, wait a minute. Well, it's a Sabrina is a comic book character that originated from Archie, and they turned it into a TV show. It was on ABC for 4 seasons. The last 3 seasons it was on the WB, and it was essentially a teenager who learns that she has powers and is sent to live with her 2 aunts, Hilda and Zelda. Right?
That's correct.
And they it's just about her going to high school. It's her in high school. She's kind of the odd girl out, and she loves Harvey, but she can't tell Harvey she loves him. And then you've got the horrible bully, Libby. Was Libby the bully? Libby was the bully.
It could be. I mean, it's a one-note show. It literally is. It's a show about a girl dealing with herself being a teenage witch and the consequences of what happens.
I love Nick Bakay, who is the voice of Salem, and I was always like, this cat is so sassy. I love it because Salem was like he was like a criminal. He had tried to take over the world, so they punished him by turning him into a cat and forced him to live out his lives with the aunts there and stuff like that. But I liked it. I liked the college years too later, because then that's when Josh, who was played by oh my God, who was like from Hey Dude, the kid from Hey Dude, where I was like, oh, I love this guy because he's Josh. And but anyway, I can't remember his name right now. But when she goes to college and her roommate is Soleil Moonfry, you know who that is, right?
She was Blossom's best friend. Or no, she was
she's Small Wonder, right? Isn't she?
I forget. I know she was in another. Later on in her life, she was on the show Becker with Ted Danson.
I did watch Becker quite a bit too. Sorry, I really liked Becker. It's Punky Brewster. I'm sorry, that's who it is. I know. I was like, why am I forgetting it? But
thank you.
She didn't lock herself in a refrigerator in any episode of Sabrina, I don't think. But yeah. So I enjoyed it. Harvey, after they moved over to the WB, Harvey wasn't on the show anymore. The show on ABC ends with him figuring out she's a witch, and then he's just kind of like not there. And then he comes back eventually, and then in the end, Sabrina, so I didn't see the last season very much at all, but I'm like going to watch the last episode, and Sabrina's about to get married to this guy that I've never seen on the show before. I thought it was going to be between Josh and Harvey, and it's not. It's this other guy. But don't worry, Harvey does show up. So
I'm sorry. Someone should have just burned her at the stake immediately.
They didn't burn witches. They hung them. But I'm surprised you didn't like Paul Feig is on this show as her like science teacher.
There is nothing this is about is I can't even think of like the nice way to put it. It's just this sitcom was
David Lasher was the name of Josh, by the way. Sorry.
This sitcom was so by the numbers, and it had no appeal to me. I never cared about it at all. It was one of those things. If it was on, I'm sure I had it on too, because I could go and I could recite episodes, but I never actually really enjoyed it.
Oh, that's a shame. Martin Mull was from Roseanne was the vice principal. Yeah. So I was trying to get her, but oh well. Anyway, you can't make everybody happy. Anyway, it was a hit. I also enjoyed they made 3 made-for-TV movies too. It was like Sabrina Goes to Rome. I forget them all, but I liked the Rome one. But anyway,
I'm seeing it like top out in the 40s here and how popular it was.
Shut up. Well, yeah, I know. Ends on like what 146 over there. But anyway, whatever. I own the first season, and it was actually originally supposed to be an HBO TV show, or something, because there is a pilot, it was aired on HBO. It was it airs as a movie length, and it stars Ryan Reynolds as Harvey. the only person that's the same as Melissa Joan Hart is Sabrina.
Yeah.
There's an actual cat. The aunts are two different people. I think the friend from the show plays Libby in the pilot or something like that. But it's interesting. If you can dig it up, I have it on DVD because I'm that type of person. It's not great, but
Yeah.
you know, if you don't like the show, you're probably not going to like that movie. But,
Nope.
But anyway, that's kind of nearing toward the end. There was also the Clueless TV show that I watched, and it was only on ABC for one season. And it only what happened was it ABC canceled it. I think it was like UPN or WB went to pick it up, and what happened? It became really popular in the reruns, and ABC stretched its contract so that the other network couldn't air it until the contract was over. So essentially, ABC tried to kill the show before it could re-air, and they were successful because the viewership just kept dropping. But
As they should.
a spinoff of the movie, Josh from Sabrina was also on that show playing the Paul Rudd character from the movie originally. But that character, I believe, is just like written out eventually. But you know,
I remember it, but
I remember
not well.
it. It was just one of those, like, it was sometimes on, sometimes, you know, you just caught it when you could. But that's really kind of all I remember. I mean, I remember the Hughleys, but I don't really think about them as a TGIF show. That show was just on randomly.
No, I mean, yeah, it was a part, but TGIF was falling apart at this point. Boy Meets World was starting to get less popular. That's why it started shifting around with what time it even was in the TGIF block. And, you know, Sabrina was still big, but like you said, Making the Band eventually came in and just kind of shattered that all. And then from there, Fridays were just a mess. They tried to stick with the comedy, but then that didn't work out. Had to take away sitcoms and move to America's Funniest Home Videos, and then it just wildly got all over the place. Back when nanny shows were big, Super Nanny at one point was on there. Weissop was on there.
You're just looking at the lineup of Friday.
But
it's not part of TGIF.
No, exactly. Yeah. But that's what happened. Like it just.
The Friday night time slot fell apart.
No, it completely lost its way. Random stuff just, you know, every time they thought they were going to get it back, like George Lopez and 8 Simple Rules, they thought they were going to get it back then, and then it fell apart. And the closest they've kind of come was with Last Man Standing and the different shows they were putting on there. And obviously, we all know what happened with that now, too. So it's one of those things. ABC had a great thing. Now they have their Wednesday night comedy, as we said, that I think is definitely hitting its high strides right now. You know, there's not much more time left for Modern Family. That's going to be on its way out in the next couple of years. But while we don't have TGIF anymore, we still have Wednesday night comedy. So, hey. What are you going to do?
I'm just reading this, just so we're clear. During its 4-year run on ABC, Sabrina was the highest rated series among the network's TGIF lineup. Okay? Just want to make that clear.
It's a crappy show. You have some obsession with Melissa Joan Hart that I will never understand.
It's the one woman in my life. Well, Amy Jo Johnson as well. But just something like Clarissa, something. It's just like I grew up and she was always there. And so it was just like, and then I told you there was a girl in my church that looked like her. And I'm always like, be my friend. But anyway, those were our favorites. I'm sorry if we skipped over some that were your favorites. Let us know in the comments, obviously. Sorry we kind of rambled on for a lot. We could have made separate episodes about each one of those shows, honestly, especially Step by Step. Craig could have his own Step by Step podcast.
Oh, maybe I will once it's out on Hulu. Maybe I'll do an episode by episode, an in-depth discussion on Step by Step.
You got to come up with like a really clever reference to that, though. Like, don't call it like Cody's Van or something like that. That sounds.
And that's pass.
So yeah, I guess that's it. Let us know what you thought. We still want to talk about these fun things and all that stuff. You know, let Craig know how much you love Sabrina too. He'll love to hear it. There's a really funny or die skit with Melissa Joan Hart where she's reuniting with Salem and they're having dinner, having lunch, and she's essentially lost her mind.
Oh, good. I'll go vote die on that one.
It ends with the kid running up with a wand and being like, Wingardium Leviosa, and she grabs a cup and goes, cup, and throws it at the kid's head, and it hits him in the head. And it just makes me laugh. But anyway, that'll do it. We've talked long enough. Thank you, Craig, for having this discussion.
You're welcome.
Thank you, everybody, for listening, for as long as you have, watching, all that fun stuff. And we shall return at some point in the future, but that'll do it for now for DIS Pop.